Hello and welcome to CVR News Network. You're watching CVR English, and these are the details of the World 360 with me, Sandeep. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot welcomed his German counterpart Johann Wadephul at Quai d'Orsay in Paris for high-level talks focused on pressing international issues. The meeting addressed key topics including the war in Ukraine, the Gaza conflict, trade tensions within the EU, and Iran's nuclear program. Both ministers emphasized the importance of Franco-German cooperation in shaping Europe's response to global challenges. The visit marks Wadephul's first official trip to France since his appointment and underscores a renewed commitment to transatlantic diplomacy and European unity.
Bonjour. Ja, ja. Ja. Hello. There was as high as here. Will you do? Yes. They go there. Yeah. No. All right. So once again. You are my last vacation. Bonjour. Ja. Ja. Hello. There was as high as here. Will you do? Yes. They go there. Yeah. No. All right. So once again. You are my last vacation.
Smoke was seen rising over the Druze village of Al-Marza near Swedia as fierce clashes erupted between Druze militias and Sunni Bedouin tribal fighters backed by Syria's Islamist-led government. The violence followed the withdrawal of Syrian government forces from Swedia province ordered by interim President Ahmad al-Shara after days of deadly confrontations that claimed nearly 600 lives. Early Friday, the House gave final approval to President Donald Trump's request to claw back around $9 billion in federal spending, primarily targeting public broadcasting and foreign aid. The move reflects a broader Republican effort to trim programs they consider excessive or misaligned with their priorities. The cuts include $1.1 billion from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which supports NPR, PBS, and numerous local stations, and nearly $8 billion from foreign aid initiatives such as humanitarian assistance and refugee support. While Republicans defended the decision as a push for fiscal discipline, Democrats criticized it politically driven and detrimental to vulnerable populations, both domestically and abroad.
This reckless Republican rescissions package is going to undermine the ability of people in rural America and in small town America to receive advance warning or necessary information when disaster strikes.
It took NPR through Texas Public Radio 19 hours to post anything about the flooding on its social media pages after the floods hit in Texas. What was NPR and Texas Public Radio doing that morning? They weren't breaking to talk about what was happening in Texas. They were running ads saying people should call Congress to fund them.
This bill rescinds $9 billion for international aid, public health, and public media. It will make America less safe. It will undermine our national security, and it will threaten lives across the world and kill children.
We are doing what the American people want us to do, and that is to let them keep more of their money.
Vote. The yeas are 216. The nays are 213. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
This reckless Republican rescissions package is going to undermine the ability of people in rural America and in small town.
2 days of relentless downpours in South Korea have left at least 4 people dead and forced more than 1,300 residents to evacuate their homes, according to the Interior and Safety Ministry. Among the deceased was a person whose vehicle was buried under soil and concrete after a retaining wall of an overpass collapsed in Osan, just south of Seoul. 3 others were found dead in separate incidents: a submerged car, a stream, and a flooded basement in southern regions. At least 54 people lost their lives in eastern Pakistan within 24 hours due to relentless monsoon rains, bringing the nationwide death toll to 180 over the past 3 weeks. Officials confirmed on Saturday. The torrential downpours triggered flash floods and building collapses, particularly in Punjab province, which received 124% more rainfall than usual this month. Rescue operations are underway, with authorities using boats and helicopters to evacuate stranded residents. The National Disaster Management Authority has issued flood alerts and urged citizens in vulnerable areas to prepare emergency kits and avoid travel to affected regions. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters on Wednesday that President Donald Trump would not recommend appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case. She clarified that the idea has been floated by the media and was not under consideration by the president. Despite growing pressure from some Republican allies and public calls for transparency, Leavitt emphasized that the administration believes it has been fully transparent in its handling of the matter. Trump himself dismissed the controversy surrounding Epstein-related records as a hoax, criticizing supporters who continue to demand further disclosures.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions. And they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. It was this president who directed.
Syrian government forces largely pulled out the southern province of Sweden on Thursday following the days of intense clashes with Druze militants that threatened to destabilize the country's fragile post-war transition. The violence, which erupted between the Druze and armed groups and Sunni Bedouin tribes, escalated when government forces intervened, reportedly siding with the Bedouins. The fighting resulted in hundreds of deaths and widespread destruction. The United States publicly opposed recent Israeli airstrikes in Syria, which followed days of escalating violence in the presence of promise of Sweden. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce told reporters that Washington did not support the strikes and was engaging diplomacy with both Israel and Syria to address the crisis and pursue a lasting agreement between the two nations.
I can tell you regarding Israel's intervention and activity is the United States did not support recent Israeli strikes. We are engaging diplomatically with Israel and Syria at the highest levels, both to address the present crisis and reach a lasting agreement between the two sovereign states. President Trump has outlined his clear vision of a prosperous Middle East and stable Syria at peace with itself and its neighbors. Peace among neighbors, including Israel and Syria, is a critical component of this vision. So I can tell you regarding Israel's intervention and activity is the United States did not support recent Israeli strikes. We are engaging diplomatically with Israel and Syria at the highest levels, both to address the present crisis and reach a lasting agreement between the two sovereign states. President Trump has outlined his clear vision of a prosperous Middle East and stable Syria at peace with itself and its neighbors. Peace among neighbors, including Israel and Syria, is a critical component of this vision. So I can tell you regarding Israel's intervention and activity is the United States did not support recent Israeli strikes.
Following the days of deadly sectarian clashes in Syria's Druze majority province on Sweden, Druze families assembled at the Syrian line in Israeli annexed Golan Heights, hoping to cross into the Syrian territory to reunite with loved ones and offer support. The violence, which claimed hundreds of lives, prompted rare scenes of cross-border movement, with some Druze individuals managing to briefly visit relatives across the heavily fortified frontier. France formally handed over its last two military bases in Senegal on Thursday, marking the end of the 65-year-old troop presence in the West African nation. In a ceremony attended by top French and Senegalese officials, Camp Gel, France's largest base in Senegal, and its airfield at Dakar Airport were returned to Senegalese control. The withdrawal follows President Bassirou Diomaye Faye demanded that all foreign troops leave Senegal by the end of 2025. Unlike other former colonies such as Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which have severe ties with France and turn to Russia, Faye has maintained that Senegal will continue to engage with Paris as an equal partner.
La cérémonie qui nous réunit ce jour marque un tournant important dans le riche et long parcours de la coopération militaire entre le Sénégal et la France.
President Donald Trump has directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to request for court approval for the release of grand jury testimony related to Jeffrey Epstein case. The move comes amid mounting public pressure from backlash from Trump's own supporters, who have accused the administration of withholding key information about Epstein's alleged elite clientele and circumstances surrounding his death. Trump has described the controversy as a scam perpetuated by the Democrats and emphasized that the release would help end speculation and restore transparency. Bondi confirmed that the Justice Department is prepared to move the court and unseal the transcripts. Through legal experts note that such a release is rare and subject to judicial review.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he's asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to release grand jury testimony related to Jeffrey Epstein, the now deceased financier and sex offender, subject to court approval. Some of Trump's political base who were expecting lurid details about Epstein reacted in fury earlier this month after the Trump administration reversed a pledge to release documents it once suggested would offer major revelations about Epstein and his alleged clientele. A Justice Department report this month also concluded that there was no evidence to support a number of long-held conspiracy theories about his clients and 2019 death in prison. It's caused a rare fracture of support for Trump, who has called the matter a hoax. On Thursday, he wrote on his Truth Social platform that, quote, "Based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony," before going on to blame Democrats for what he called a scam. Shortly after Trump's post, Bondi said on X that the Justice Department was ready to ask the court on Friday to unseal the grand jury transcripts. Allegations that Epstein had been sexually abusing girls became public in 2006, and he was arrested that year before accepting a plea deal. Epstein died in 2019 in jail after he was arrested a second time and charged with sex trafficking conspiracy. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to release grand jury testimony related to Jeffrey Epstein, the now deceased financier and sex offender, subject to court approval. Some of Trump's political base who were expecting lurid details about Epstein reacted in fury earlier this month after the Trump administration reversed a pledge to release documents it once suggested would offer major revelations about Epstein and his alleged clientele. A Justice Department report this month.
Australian daredevil Felix Baumgartner, renowned for his record-breaking 2010 supersonic skydive from the edge of the space, tragically died in a paragliding accident in Porto Sant' Elpidio, Italy on July 17th. He was 56. Baumgartner was piloting a powered paraglider when he reportedly suffered a sudden medical emergency mid-air, possibly cardiac arrest, causing him to lose control and crash into the swimming pool of Lee Memo's family camping village. A hotel worker nearby sustained minor injuries, while Baumgartner was fatally wounded and declared dead before air ambulance arrived.
Господа, те, у кого не заняты руки фотоаппаратами и видеокамерами. Господа, те, у кого не заняты руки фотоаппаратами и видеокамерами. Господа, те, у кого не заняты руки фотоаппаратами и видеокамерами.
French President Emmanuel Macron welcomed Austrian Chancellor Christian Stock at the Elysee Palace in Paris for a working lunch aimed at strengthening bilateral ties and discussing key European and global issues. The meeting focused on cooperation in areas such as energy security, defense coordination, and EU reform, as well as the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and Middle East. Both leaders reaffirmed their commitment to a united Europe and emphasized the importance of strategic dialogue between Paris and Vienna amid rising geopolitical tensions. The visit marks a continuation of Macron's diplomatic outreach to European partners ahead of upcoming EU summits. And that's the end of the World 360. Stay tuned to CVR News English.